my voice. I've had a fairly rough day. So hopefully the more I talk, the better my voice will get, but it's really starting to go. So I don't know how long this stream will be. Now, the main purpose of streaming today is because I wanted to collect some footage for some upcoming videos. And I thought as I was doing it anyway, I might as well share them with you. So the first one we're going to look at, let's just move a couple of these out of the way, is a slight change that I've made to my third task mock. Not a lot's changed on the back, although I did reskin it so that they're all in that Hogwarts Moments style of book cover. And on the inside, it looks largely the same as the original version did. Now, if you've seen that video, you'll know this is the just before the third task, as all of the contestants were coming out and being introduced to the crowd. At the moment, Harry and Cedric are living in this mock. See Cedric there, and that's the graveyard at Little Hangleton. The Return of Voldemort. But usually they would live in my third task mock. So not a huge amount has changed. Mainly what I've changed is the angle of the grandstands. You can see if you look down from the top, rather than being one straight line, we've now got angled edges at the sides. So the way I've done this is, obviously it's just done with a simple bit of hinges. I've got a 1x2 stuck in the back just on this jumper, just to hold that forwards, otherwise it's just free to move. So that's our grandstand. Again, not a huge amount of change. The fronts used to be built onto snot bricks, but now they're on a plate, and there's still the tiles representing the backdrop that we see at the beginning of this scene. I just wanted it to be a little easier to remove, because essentially what this is obviously a Quidditch stadium grandstand, and I wanted to be able to display this as part of my Quidditch setup. So now that these are much easier to remove, it's just a case of removing this front plate. I can replace those with more house coloured pieces along the front. Then obviously the bow batons and the Durmstrangs can be removed. We can just use this as part of a Quidditch pitch setup. What I'll probably do is build a couple of towers to go at the sides here, just to give it a bit more of a Quidditch pitch feel. So looking at the minifigs, we've got my Fleur mock, as she was before, and you can see the details of how she was made in the Minifig Monday third task video. Amos Diggory. Madame Maxine, largely the original version, but I have updated her torso from the one in the latest set featuring the Durmstrang ship and the bow baton carriage. Oh, hello there, Darth Tower. Good day to you as well. Thank you very much. Well, just in case you missed the first bit, just to let you know, I'm mainly gathering footage for upcoming videos. And as I was doing that anyway, I thought I'd stream live. So this may be a bit disjointed, and I may rush through various different things as I go along. But there, yes, a slightly updated torso, and of course I've added that fur collar. And then Crumb is actually, well, Karkaroff in this one is the very early Karkaroff, and Crumb uses a mixture of various different torso parts just to get that jumper, which I was surprised he'd never had before. But that is the slightly amended, now slightly angled grandstand for the third task. Haven't changed any of the other task mocks. As I said, the graveyard at Little Hangleton is where Harry and Cedric are living right now. And this is a mock where I've got a full build for this on the channel currently. I've created a couple of other modified a couple more. Probably the... Ooh, let's get this big boy over. Now the Ministry of Magic is one that I've done a whole video for fairly recently, and you'll have seen that. But if you have seen that video, you may notice there are a couple of changes. Let's remove our Fiend Fire. So the most obvious changes over here, I've changed the lifts. Let's just take this bit off, we'll look at that in a moment. So the lift, rather than just being a plain brown tile, I've now just readjusted, and I've made this sort of stepped archway so it more accurately resembles the Ministry of Magic. And using some of those fence pieces on their side, I've managed to get a bit of more depth. You can see it's just a couple of studs deep, and I'll probably go over the build of that once it's finished. Just need to replace these two wedges with gold, and they have only just become available because they weren't available previously when I originally envisioned this mock. But now with the release of the new C3PO buildable figure, I have access to them, so I've just got to order a couple of those from Britlink and complete this mock. One other thing I was thinking of changing is my Flue network access point, because as you see, this is only 2 bricks deep, and it's quite nice. It keeps the original flavour from the original Ministry of Magic set. But what I was considering doing is replacing it with one of these working flues that came in the Borgin and Burke gift with purchase that I got when I purchased my collector's edition Burrow. The problem with this is I need at least 4 studs of depth, and by the looks of it a couple of plate layers, to be able to fit that in. And if I do that, then that's going to take up all this space where we are currently storing the Magic is Might statue. Now I might be able to squeeze that right over to gain those 2 studs, but I think I'm going to need that plate layer as well. So that could be facilitated by shifting the fireplace forward a little bit. I'm just considering whether that's going to be worth my time to make that change, because really the working flues aren't a huge part of this mock. It's mainly going to be the figures that are displayed in it. All the rest is still the same. We've got the visitor's entrance, as I said, the alternate fountain of magical brethren, or in Lego's case, just the golden wizard. Why won't you go on? There we go. Down below, we've got the Department of Mysteries, and hiding in the side is my Hall of Prophecies mini mock, and on the other side is the Trial Chamber mini mock. As I looked at in a lot more detail in the Ministry of Magic video that's already up on the channel. And one of the things that were in that video was just up on top here, I had a storage space for minifigs, and that was just a plain little piece or a few plates, nothing special. It wasn't really part of the mock, but I've since updated that too, and now it is a full corridor. So let's take the figures out so you can see what's going on. Now, some of you may recognize from the movies that this is the corridor where Umbridge's office is. And I've tried to replicate it as faithfully as possible, but I've got some space issues in storing this, so I've got to keep it fairly compact. So I haven't been able to put on the big typing pool area where everyone's assembling the leaflets, and we don't get quite as much corridor as we want. But what we do get is the rather gaudy entrance to Umbridge's office. We've got the red and lavender carpet as seen in the movies. Now this, as it's just really a display shelf, doesn't really go anywhere. We've just got a plate on the end there for the doorway. I've used a minion eye to represent Moody's eyeball, and then the plates on the door as seen in the film. So it's fairly accurate. Again, obviously, if I had more space, I'd have the large pitched roof on the top there, filling it in. We get a little bit more corridor, and that obviously sits just above here like that, just to block off that bit. So let's see if we can see that a bit better. So it's not really part of the MOC. I suppose it is now, but this isn't really its true placement location, and it's really just there as somewhere to store all of these many minifigures, which now, having taken off, I've got to put back on again. But they all live over here. So there's quite a few proper Ministry figures. Hey Step, how you doing? Including some, come on, focus, won't you focus? There we go. We've got Reg Catamol in his underwear. It just does not want to focus. Oh dear. Oh well, anyway, there's Reg in his underwear. We've got most of the Ministry official release figures. I think maybe all of them up here, and a few other MOCs. And all of these are gone through in the various Minifig Monday and other videos that I've done for the channel so far. So that's the update to the Ministry. Umbridge's office corridor. Let's just switch this out and have a look at another one of my updates. So another video I did for the channel this year was the Hogwarts Express. Oh, excuse me, moving around. And almost literally the day after, just bring you down to a slightly more useful angle. Almost the day after I published that video, I found on Bricklink a bunch of stickered pieces from the original set. So I ordered them, and I got this notice board, and you can just see on the inside I've got these nice picture pieces. So I immediately went and updated my MOC to include those parts. Also changed the door, because if you've seen that video, you'll know there was a Lego train door on the inside here, and it looked terrible from the inside. They're really designed to be looked at from the outside, and from the inside they're pretty awful. So I've just mocked this up. It's a sideways build using a couple of plates, a clear 1x2. Then we've got a headlight brick on backwards here, so we can add an ice skate acting as the door handle. That just gives us our compartment doorway. There's that notice board and our compartment. Other than that, the build is just as it was in the original. What do I think of the upcoming sets? Well, you've opened a can of worms. Herbology class, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I don't know whether they're going to do that as a classroom or if they're going to do that as a greenhouse. It's a tricky one, because obviously whenever we see herbology class, it's always a greenhouse, but I don't know how they're going to work that out with the slotting in style of the new classrooms. Looking at the price of it, it's going to be a fairly extensive set, so it may well be some exterior, but also the location of the greenhouses on the original model of Hogwarts that they use is nowhere near the parts of the castle that they're making in the largest ever Hogwarts castle that is currently on release. So I don't know where they're going to put it. I am intrigued though. The Monster Book of Monsters, yeah, that one I'm going to have to wait and see on that one, because I don't know if it's just going to be another one of these human scale props that they've been doing of late with the Mandrake and stuff, and or whether it's going to be something like Newt's case. So it's Monster Book of Monsters on the outside, and then just on the inside a few creatures that we've never seen before, maybe. I don't know exactly what that's going to be, but I'm quite intrigued. What was the other one that was interesting to me? I'm sure you'll tell me. I can't remember what the other ones that were coming out were. Marge's Visit, that was it. Yes, you mentioned it. Yes, I'm keen to see what they do with that, whether they go with just a regular minifig version of Aunt Marge or a blown up one. Here I've just added on my MOC that sits here for storage, and this is of course the entrance to platform 9 3/4. And I had one other train related MOC that I did this year, not quite finished, so it hasn't been on the channel, but it's worth a look now. And that is going to be the ghostly version of King's Cross Station. As you can see, I've got a couple of greys where they should be white. And this is going to be my ghostly King's Cross Station. As you can see, baby Voldemort is currently living under here for the scrap of soul that was lost. And into this MOC, we've got Dumbledore the White and King's Cross Harry. I'm sure somebody can recognise where I've got the parts for King's Cross Harry from. I'll give you a couple of minutes to let us know in the chat, and then I'll tell you. So this isn't a very big one, and it was really built just to fill up this space in my trains MOC area, so that can sit on my bookshelf. I'm sure you're all familiar with the channel and know that my MOC displays that aren't part of my Hogwarts are all hidden to look like a bookshelf, because it's fairly well in public view, and it gets me in less trouble with my wife if it's not all on display. So there we go. Those are some other changes I've made to the Hogwarts Express and King's Cross MOCs that I built earlier this year. Move on to the next one. Now, when Gringotts Bank came out, I was all very excited. And of course, not buying Gringotts Bank because I've made my own MOC, and also because I do not have that kind of disposable income. I missed out on the Gringotts gift with purchase. I left things a little too late and wasn't able to get one. But I was able to get a sticker sheet. So I built my own Gringotts Vault. Obviously, not needing to attach it to the bank. It hasn't got the roller coaster parts. They don't exist. But it is stickered up and largely the same construction as that. It's got a little lip on here, just so we can display some minifigs outside it. It's full of treasure. As you can see, it's representing the Lestrange Vault at the moment, so you can just make out in the background there Gryffindor's sword, and also the back wall comes off so you can get more access to the vault. And I've also made it so that the top comes, of course it doesn't come off. So the top comes off as well, so you can access the vault that way. My goblin is made out of a spare grip hook head that I had, and then one of the old classic goblin torsos, just to be my grip hook. I'm trying to find at a reasonable price what have I done there? A copy of the Gringotts sticker sheet with the bank vault numbers on it, so that I can swap out the bank vaults for various different versions of the display. Obviously, we've got studs on the front so that Harry and Hagrid can come and visit for when I do a year one display. So that's my make, do, amend Gringotts Bank MOC. Now, judging by a question my wife asked me the other day about this gift with purchase set, she may have managed to track me one down on Facebook Marketplace. Now, I'm not holding my breath, because the chances of finding one on Facebook Marketplace at a reasonable price, I would have thought, are fairly slim. But hope springs eternal, and we shall wait and see. But for now, this is the vault I've got, so this is the one I'm going with. I've been making some other changes to other MOCs in anticipation of January the 1st. Of course, is my Malfoy Manor MOC. So the main changes since the last video, I've popped a couple of headlight bricks in on this angle part so that we can install a pair of what are these called, chandeliers. Now, they don't have the breakaway feature that the new version does, but I don't really need them to, because again, mine aren't playsets, they're just displays. You can see we've got the old Dobby up there, and of course he'll be replaced with the new one in the fullness of time once Malfoy Manor goes on a heavy old discount, and I'll find that a little cheaper. I'll be able to recover all these torsos that I've got sitting up here. Well, these torsos. that I've got on here and replace them with the new ones from the new set. Except, I think, Malfoy, because that torso in the new set is shocking. I don't know where they've got that from. It's so generic. And we're just going to leave this Malfoy in this set, I think. We've got Narcissa and Bellatrix that I can use in other MOCs elsewhere. This version of Lucius as well can get better use, and we've got that slightly more dishevelled version in the new set. All the rest of the Death Eaters will stay as they are. You'll see that I've already made space for the new paintings, and they do fill up the space a lot better, and it looks much more like the movie set now that we've got those new pieces in. Probably going to have to change the back of the fireplace. We've got that in dark tan. The new sticker is in regular tan, so I might have to swap out the bottom half of the fireplace and make it all light tan. I wanted a bit more variety of colour to just make it not look all too samey. But I might have to swap that back from the dark tan to the light, just so that sticker doesn't look too out of place. But we'll see. I'll try it out in position. Because I've added these, and I've made them just stick out half a stud. So I've used that, done that with some jumper plates at the bottom. So now just half a stud proud. So it looks like the paintings are hanging on the wall. I didn't want them sticking out a full stud. That would be a bit too much. And also tricky to connect these doorways. They've got no real way to be snot connected onto things, or not discreetly anyway. But because of the jumper plates, there's a bit of extra brick sticking out of the back here, so I've had to add an extra plate in to make my book cover just one plate proud at the rear, just so we've got a bit more space to operate. I think this is going to look much better proportioned once those new things are in. Now we've got these chandeliers, and with the access to the new minifigs, although they don't really add much new except Harry's swollen face, that one I'm really looking forward to, and Hermione in her accurate outfit, I'll be able to do a lot more change of scenes in this space. Also considering that the table and the chairs are no longer built into the floor, I've just tiled that off properly so that I can set many more scenes in this space. Now, one thing it doesn't have is that quite interesting dark mark built into the carpet that the new one has got. I couldn't work out what that was when I first saw it, but it's quite clever. It's a bit like the owl hidden in the owlery. They're doing these little secret Easter egg builds in a lot of the sets coming up. I quite like it. I don't know if I'll need to maintain let's put this in. There we go. So that's my Malfoy Manor set up and ready for the new parts. So there's another MOC that I was working on earlier this year, and this one really is work in progress. It's really not super ready for public consumption, but I'll show you anyway. So again, it's one of my book cover MOCs as normal, and this one is quite slim because it's the underpass where Harry gets attacked by the Dementors, and it's very difficult to see, which is why I'm not sure I like it. Let's take the Dementors off here and the Patronus out of the way. You can just see down at the end there's Harry, and I was looking for a figure to be Dudley down on the floor. Tried to get a bit of foreshortening and force perspective with that angled plate, just so you can see Harry past the other two items. Probably not really working. I'm really running out of space on my shelf now for extra displays. I did want this, and I was thinking of doing quite a nice wide one, you know, side on down the tunnel, but this is really all I can fit. So unless I have a major reshuffle and rejig of what I've got in my collection, I may end up with this. I think I'm going to rework it, because once I roof this off and put extra bits along the top or plate off the top, you're really not going to be able to see Harry at all. Maybe an opportunity to revisit some lighting, but I think at the moment this is a probably a fail, but we may revisit it later just to try and complete all the scenes in all the movies. So one of the scenes I've never had a build for, well, I actually have had a build for it for ages. I've just never really shown it on the channel because it's not one I can do a build video for. And it's also one of the new upcoming releases for 2025, and that is the night bus. Now, how is something only 10 bricks wide the night bus? I hear no one at all ask. Well, I'll show you. Because I'm only using this for display, I really don't need the whole bus. All I really need is half a bus. So my bus is built with hinges and it folds away onto this 8x10 little plate. And then we have Harry and his trunk that can sit down here on the little bit of pavement. Stan in the back door of the bus. And that is pretty much all I need for a night bus. As you can see, it cuts off before we get to the driver's compartment, so I can't really put Ernie in there. But I could have him displayed on the build if I wanted to. This is pretty much exactly as it comes in the set. All of the build techniques are the same. Some of the bricks have been substituted, especially where we've got the hinges at each level. Obviously it doesn't segment down, so you can't get inside it because there is no inside. It's exactly 2 bricks deep. And I put black bricks behind all the windows just so it looked a bit more complete. You didn't want to see the back studs through all of that. It's all designed to fold away quite nicely. Let's put the trunk on the back of that. That all folds up. Harry stands on this random plate. And that will slot away on my shelf. Just like that. I don't often use the brick covers, or the book covers rather, as display. I usually try to display them as spines. But I just needed that extra bit of width. I could only go 10. I couldn't quite do it in 8, so I had to go 10 wide. So I decided to use a book cover. Then I've got this bit on the end that looks like the bottom of a book, just with this bookmark piece hanging out, just for another extra little bit of detail. And that's how that one sits on my shelf. And then when I want my night bus, I can fold it out, pop it up on my shelf, just to display the scene where Harry spots the Grim and is picked up. But usually this will sit at the end of Diagon Alley when my Diagon Alley is on display. So that's the night bus. Another mock that I've done and never shown on the channel. And much quicker than I was expected. That is everything. So I think I'll probably call it here. My voice is not doing very well. Thank you for watching. It was nice of you to drop by. If you ever get the urge, do just leave one of my playlists playing in the background when you go to sleep at night. That would be lovely as well. Get a few more viewing hours. The channel is quite close to being able to get channel members. Not that that's going to do much for anyone because I've got nothing to really offer to members. And, you know, a good few watch hours away from being monetized. And again, it's not going to make much difference to the channel. It'll just allow me to buy a few more bricks, maybe. But that is it for our stream. Thank you for joining us. Just a little half hour while I go through some of the mocks that I've done in the last year and get a bit of footage. I should be back in the new year with some new build videos. Once the new sets come out, I'll be adapting them to go into my Hogwarts, and you'll be able to join us as we add new modules to that. So it's time for us to go. Thank you very much and goodbye.